Hey guys, I'm Brianna, welcome back to my channel. Very sorry for the lighting right now. It got super dark outside and I use natural lighting for my videos and it's raining. So now we're using my regular light in my room. So it's probably very like orangey, yellowy looking, but it's fine, we're still filming. So today is I guess it's my March through May wrap up. Most of these books I read towards the end of April and May. I don't think I read any book in March except like one maybe, but it's been an interesting month. I'm finally home from college. I read a ton this month. I'm still kind of upset with where I am on my reading challenge for 2019. I set a goal of 175 and I think I'm at like 44. Normally I'd be a lot higher, but it's fine. I'm reading, it's good. But yeah, so I'm going to start off with the two books that I'm reading currently. The first one is Midnight's Promise by Donna Grant. This is the last and final book of the Dark Warriors series, which is the second series in like all the series that connect. But yeah, so this is book 2. No, I lied. This is the last book of the series, like book 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8. This is book 8, so yeah, this is Malcolm's book. And then I'm also reading The Dating Game by Carly Roche. I kind of had to take a break from the Dark Warrior series just because, one, I've been like it's kind of like binge watching a show. I've been reading them so fast that it's kind of like a similar plot over and over again, so I'm kind of getting drained from it, so that's why I decided to pick up this one. And as you can see, I'm not really far into it. I'm on page like 15, but this is a college, I don't know if it's a romance so much, but it's just a college novel. It's about a group of students in a business class and they make a dating app that goes viral on the college campus. And I'm actually really excited to read this, one, because I am in college so I connect to it so much, but two, it just seems like a really fun story. So I think I'm going to end up reading this and finishing it and then reading Midnight's Promise. So the first book I have was the only ebook I read, and my Kindle's not charged right now so I can't show you the cover, but it's a reread. It's called The Strongest Steel by Scarlett Cole. I gave it a 5 out of 5. It was great. It's a tattoo novel. Basically, this girl has really bad scarring on her back, and I'm not going to get into how she got that, but it was an abusive situation in her past, and she has really bad scarring, and she's finally somewhat over it, and she wants to get a tattoo to kind of cover it so she's more confident to go out. So her and the tattoo artist end up falling in love, but there's so much stuff that happens, and it's honestly, I can say it's a really, really great novel, and like I could picture that tattoo in my head and it just seems beautiful. So now on to the rest of the books I've read. They were all physical copies. I've read a total of 17 books, which is pretty good to get me back into the game of reading. So yeah, and I'm filming this somewhat early. I think it's the 23rd of May, but I wanted to film it before Memorial Day and then upload it so I don't forget. But the first book I read was Frat Girl by Carly Roche. This was a reread. I gave it, again, a 4 out of 5. It was great, a really good read. Again, I connect to it just because some of the things in here, like, I've experienced, and, like, I can say that, like, I know her point of view and her opinion on things because I see it all the time that I'm in college. But again, it's not how I would go about a feminist book. There were a lot of strong opinions, and I feel like the character didn't give a chance for other characters to share their opinions. It was kind of like her way or the highway. So that's, again, my one issue with the book. But if you're going in and you don't really care about the political or the feminist views in here that are very strong, then you'll love this book. Then I finally read Darkness Embraced by Tillie Cole. I'm very excited I read this. I gave it a 5 out of 5. So good. This is Tanner's story. If you read Crux Untamed, that book takes a totally different, like, not spin, but like a totally different side of this world and what's happening. You get into the KKK more in the last book, and you see a lot of racial problems, and that book was so good. And then you come to this one, and I don't know, Tillie Cole's writing is just like phenomenal, and it kind of takes you out and makes you see things differently, and then translates what you read and hear and your opinions into the real world. So I just really love this book. My mom read it too, she loved it, and I'm just waiting for the next book, but it seems like she's taking a little bit of a break. If you do not know, she's writing a new series, which is apparently a lot darker than the Hades Hangman series, and it's a prequel, and the first book come out within like 2 weeks of each other. I think May and June. I don't know if they're out yet, but I forgot the prequel, but the first book is called Raphael, and I'm actually really excited to read them. I don't want to get spoiled or anything, but I'm very excited to pick those up and read them. And then I think Vikings book is the next book. I don't think that comes out until the fall, so it's a little bit of a wait, but it's worth it. Then I read Misadventures of the Speed Demon by Shel Bliss. Wow, it was a mouthful. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. It was a quick read for me. It was about, not a NASCAR driver, but kind of getting in the professional driving circuit. It was really good. It was the romance between the owner's daughter and the new guy that they brought on. Her brother's in it too. It was a pretty good book. I feel like the Misadventures books are very quick reads if you're in a book slump or if you want to kind of jump back into reading, because they're not really that heavy. You don't really have to think too much. It's kind of like you're watching a reality show on TV. That's what it reminds me of, but really good. Now to get onto the series. So I'm going to be going through each book and the rating I gave them, and then telling you the male character in the book, because I don't want to spoil female characters and too much about the book, but I'll explain like the ratings I gave, but these I'll probably fly through pretty fast. So the first series is the Dark Sword series. It's the Highlander novels. These are like the OGs of the OGs, so these are kind of, I guess, prequel books to the following series. So the first book we have is Dangerous Highlander, and they're all by Donna Grant, so I'm not going to say her name 100 times. But this is book 1. I gave this a 4 out of 5. This is Lucian's book. I don't know if you say Lucian, whatever his name is, but he is one of the 3 brothers. He is the middle brother. I think he's the middle brother. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Again, 4 out of 5. This was a lot more build-up than it was actual plot, so that's why I didn't give it a 5, but other than that, I really did enjoy this book. Then we have Forbidden Highlander. This is book 2. This is Fallon's novel, and Fallon is the eldest son of the triplets, I guess you could say. And yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail with their powers and stuff because you'll read that. But I guess the basic premise of these books are they're Highlanders in 1600 Scotland, and they are battling. There's druids in this, and if you don't know, there's good and evil druids. They're magical beings. They use magic. They are warriors, which I can't really like tell you too much about it, but they're warriors, which they're immortal beings, and there's a whole background story to that. But that's pretty much what it is. Just know there's a lot of kilts in it, because that's the best. But this is Fallon's book. And then we have Wicked Highlander, which is Quinn's book. I gave this one a 5 out of 5. Oh, Fallon's I gave a 4 out of 5. This one I gave a 5 out of 5. I loved Quinn's character, and I just love the plot in general. I think this was one of my favorite books out of all the series so far. I just really connected with Quinn, and I just loved how she made the plot in this book. It just progressed a lot, so that's this one. Then we have Untamed Highlander. This is book 4. This is Hayden's novel, and I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. I forgot why I gave this. I think it's because they didn't talk too much into detail about Hayden's background, which I wasn't really a fan of, and I feel like they didn't go into so much depth with the characters, and the plot didn't progress as much in this book, but I really did enjoy Hayden and learning about the warriors and everything. Then we have book 5, which is Shadow Highlander. This is Galen's novel. I gave this a 4 out of 5. I loved him. He was just really interesting to learn about as well, and his abilities. I don't want to spoil these because like I want to tell you what their abilities are, but you kind of just got to read it to read it. But I did enjoy Galen's character a lot more than I thought I would. He was a little iffy in the first couple books when he came in, but once you kind of just like explored him and like how he was feeling and everything like that, I really connected with him. And the last book of this series is my favorite, and I think this is probably going to be one of my favorites ever written, unless I like the Dragon Kings better. But this is Darkest Highlander. This is Brock's story. I give this a 5 out of 5. If you have not read my review about this, it's really quick, but I just love Brock. Like, I am in love with this man. He is literally everything. Like, I just love his character, and he was so iffy in the beginning, but I just really, like, I don't know, I was drawn to him. He has such a unique ability within the Highlanders and within the Warriors. I just love Brock. Like, marry me. Like, definitely, honestly, not gonna lie, Brock kind of reminds me of Rhys in ACOMAF. These books right here, if you can see. He did remind me a little bit, so I think that's why I got attached so quick, but I think it was just the way he looked and he was described. I think that's what reminded me. But I just loved Brock. Like, I love him so much. And I love that each of these characters are included in other books, so you see how their relationships progress. So the next series is the Dark Warriors series. This is a lot more books. This is 8 books. I've only read 7. I'm reading book 8 right now. But the first book is Midnight's Master. This I gave a 5 out of 5. This is Logan's story. I feel like I love the plot a lot more in this book. I was just very drawn to it, and it did surprise me because it is the first book of a series, but the last book of Brock's story, it has a major cliffhanger, so all of the cliffhanger is kind of resolved in this book, and I think that's why I loved it so much. But it was so good, and it was a really good, I guess, change in the series. I do question why. I mean, okay, so I understand why there's 2 different series. I can't really tell you, but I do feel like she could have combined it, and this could have just been one long series, but I get why this is a separate one. But I really love this, and just learning about Logan, and yeah. So the next one is Midnight's Lover. This is, oh, and also, I can't really tell you because that's a spoiler too, but these covers are a lot different than the other covers because, yeah, I can't tell you why, but, okay, I guess kind of. So these are more modern. Like, these are in modern day. They're not in the 1600s Scotland, whereas the first books are later. I'm not going to tell you why. I'm not going to tell you anything like that, but yeah. So Midnight's Lovers book 2. This is Ian's story. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5, and I did this just because I didn't like his female love interest as much, and I felt like there was less plot in this story, and it was more about Ian himself. And I understand, like, I completely understand why she wrote it like that. It just wasn't my favorite novel. And then I read Midnight Seduction. This is Camden's book. I don't know if it's Camden, whatever his name is. I gave this 4 to 5. I really, really enjoyed it. Again, super interesting spin just because of his background. He's very quiet, so it was nice to see him kind of open up a little bit and kind of just talk a little bit more. But yeah, this is a really good novel. Then we have Midnight's Warrior. This is Ramsey's book, and I gave this a 4 out of 5. Sorry, I'm looking down because I have all my ratings below me, but I gave this a 4 out of 5. I loved Ramsey. I could have given it more. I just didn't, on the sole basis that the plot wasn't the best, but we did learn a lot in this book, and just Ramsey's character was great. I loved learning about him. I do respect him. He's definitely one of my favorite warriors. I feel like he should be more involved, I guess, but there were some things in this book that kind of came out of nowhere, and you were like, huh, okay. And then it took you a little while to get used to it, but I did really enjoy this book. Then we have Midnight's Kiss. This is book 5. Book 5. This is Aaron's novel. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. This one fell short to me. I just didn't really connect with this book at all. I didn't connect with either character at all. I did like where they were coming from. because the woman in this is actually a doctor. Not like a doctor, she has her PhD, that type of doctor. So I did like it, but I didn't like it because I just, again, didn't really connect with the other character as much. Then we have Midnight's Captive. This is the 6th book, and this is, okay, so this is Aiden's book as well as Charion, don't know his name, but Aiden is kind of a sub-character, but he does have a romance in here, which I actually really enjoyed. I love this cover as well. But this I gave a 4 out of 5, and this definitely progresses the plot a lot more. There's a lot of drama in here, and it's nice to see an outsider book because he's not really a part of the main group of warriors. There's a lot happening. You have to read it to understand. And the last book I read was Midnight's Temptation. This is Phelan's novel. I gave it a 5 out of 5. He's definitely my second favorite character next to Brock. I loved him. I've wanted his story from the beginning, and I was so upset I had to wait until book 7 to freaking read him. But it was great. I just loved just learning more about him, and he's definitely a private person, but it was nice to see him open up. And then also there's more mythical creatures. So we get introduced to some in the book before. So we get introduced to the Dragon Kings in here, which was nice. Because I guess the prequels we were supposed to read when I was reading these two, but it's fine, it's not a big deal. But then we get introduced to freaking Fays in this book and more magical worlds, and then we learn that someone's a prince, and you're like, what? So there's a lot in here, and there's actually a phoenix in here as well, which was really freaking cool because they're one of my favorite mythical creatures. But yeah, so this definitely ended in kind of a cliffhanger, and then we have Malcolm's book, which is the last book that I have not read yet. But I am definitely excited, and I'm kind of excited to read the Dragon Kings because my mom keeps saying those were a lot better, I guess. She loved them a lot more, so I'm excited to see what's in store for me. But yeah, that's all I read. Read 17 books. I did a great job, I think. Most of these books I read in May, but it's been a pretty good reading month. I kind of just read that whole series, so I'm kind of needing a breather from this type of world, but I finally found a good adult fantasy romance book that was actually really interesting to me because I struggle to find those sometimes, so I definitely recommend it if you want that. But yeah, so that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!